Hi guys, it's Wisp. So I'm back again after a long time to give you an update on my build because I changed quite a few things again. Most remarkable is that I went back to being an anointed champion. The reasons for that is something that I will explain in the video today, and I will show you both of my loadouts, my DO loadout and my AC loadout, and I will explain you why I chose Anointed Champion over the Diviner Rucker once more, and yeah, we'll give you a bit of an insight to that. Once more, I just want to acknowledge at this point that this is my personal preference, and that there are many different ways to play a cleric, and there's not the only right way, and this is just my way to play it, and this is what I like to do right now. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so let's start off with the most obvious fact. I changed back to being an anointed champion because, as you may know, an anointed champion got pretty decent possibilities to buff due to all the power sharing powers it got. So Diviner Rucker Cleric got Terrifying Insight and therefore this plus 20% damage bonus to all allies close to you, which is really nice and really decent, and I would always choose playing NDO over an AC if I would be playing on a lower gear score, just because of that. Because when you're on a lower gear score, you don't have enough power to really share enough of that so that you can make up for losing those 20% of damage bonus. So when you're a cleric and just getting started and you have maybe a 10k gear score, something along those lines, I would recommend you to play DO Cleric when it comes to the sheer purpose of really buffing a lot, because you will have greater possibilities to buff that way for the time being. So an anointed champion really got the decent possibilities to buff with the power. I mean, my power gets up to around about 100k, a bit more when I'm in battle, so you can imagine how 25% of that as shared power would really be helpful to all of my allies. Okay, so that is the main reason why I switched back to being an anointed champion for now. I didn't really change much about the rest of my build. So I still got my Radiant enchantment slotted in my main hand, and in most of my other offense slots I still got Azure enchantments for the sheer purpose, as I said many times before, I'm a critical cleric and I heal and deal damage through critical strikes, so it's fairly nice to have quite a high critical chance. So yeah, there's not really much that changed about all the enchantments I use. I switched to negation again, as you may see. This is really just a preference thing, so if you are feeling comfortable with Soulforged enchantment, which is always a good enchantment to choose, go for it. So Soulforged enchantment would really be the safest way to go if you want to ensure that no one will die on you, or that you won't die on your allies, and that you will always be around them. When you decide for going for negation, make sure that you have a decent amount of defense, because without that it really won't do you good at all. So regarding my artifacts, yeah, still got the Heart of the Black Dragon, for the active power, and as my secondary artifacts I got everything that gives me power or crit or armband, except for the shard of Orcus wand. But I think it's pretty obvious why I got that one slotted. When there are dungeons coming up, like for example Tong, I like to equip the Talion Book of the Dead for the simple reason that it gives me a plus 1k armband, and that is fairly nice because yeah, ever since there had been those bonding runestone changes, it had already been hard enough to get back to 60% armor penetration, and Tong has quite a bit more, so yeah, that's the problem there. So I like to switch out the Eye of the Giant for the Talion Book of the Dead when I'm running dungeons like that. My ability score also stayed the same, so I put all of my points in Charisma and Wisdom. Of course, you may think, okay, you said you're a critical cleric, why the hell don't you spend your points for strength? But I did it. I changed it to see how it would impact my overall experience in the game, and I noticed that it's really not making a big change, so I decided to go with Charisma instead, because you also can't go wrong with a companion stat bonus. So I think I don't really have to say much about the powers, because I think it's pretty obvious that you should primarily put points into Astral Seal, Healing Word, Hallowed Ground, Divine Fortune, Chains of Blazing Light, Daunting Light, Holy Feather, Forge Master's Flame, Blessing of the Battle, Bastion of Help, Divine Armor, Breaking the Spirit, Divine Glow, Anointed Army, powers like that, and that you also should focus on those ones when you are getting your first level 70 plus points, where you can upgrade all those to rank 4, and I would recommend to let Divine Glow be one of the first powers you upgrade once you get those extra points, because this is a power that you will really always have slotted. So talking about my feat points, I think there are a few changes I made there, but really not that much, and it looks pretty much similar to what I had like a year ago when I had been an Anointed Champion, just that I really changed like 3 points from Holy Resolve to Domain Synergy. This is really just, well, I mean the heroic feats for clerics are really the worst there are, so you can really completely forget about feats like Templar's Domain or Initiate of the Faith. That's straight up bullshit. And really here it doesn't really matter in the end, because 3% are really not that much, and if you are better off with having 50% of your maximum hit points as temporary hit points when you drop below 30% of hit points with a 5-minute cooldown, then go for it. It's really completely, really there's no right or wrong there. So I don't really have much to say about the other talents I got, because those are the ones I really had all along, and they won't really change. All this is like nostalgia. This is the really old stuff I got, and really that won't change. That will always stay the same. Especially all the powers in the Righteous Tree, those will never change, and of course, because I'm back to being an Anointed Champion, I put my points into the Virtuous Tree again to have 5 out of 5 in Battle Feather again, for obvious reasons, for the power share. So yeah, that's like really the only change regarding that point. Talking about boons, it's I won't go through all of this now. I mean, you can see for yourself. Really, the thing is just that I focused on always getting crit when I could get crit, and having power when I have the possibility of gaining some power. But I would, as of right now, prefer crit over power. Maybe if I were to rank up my enchantments, that would also change. But I can't speak for that right now. And yeah, I would also always prefer lifesteal or over regeneration, for the simple fact that I got this mount boon called Assassin's Governor, and it decreases defense, deflection, and lifesteal, and increases power, so I pretty much choose lifesteal over regeneration in order to gain more power. That's the only reason why I do so. Regarding companions, there's also not much that changed. So I still got my Fire Archon, I still got the Siege Master, I still got the Arakan, and I still got the Erenie. That I got this lovely bird as an active companion now is really just personal preference. Of course, you may say there are better companions out there. Like, as I said before, I really ran with the Harper Bard for a long time because it's an amazing companion. And the Sellsword is also an amazing companion. So I think most would prefer the Sellsword for the fact that it has this decreased defense buff. That the finest strike of Wicked Strike now shreds 10% of the target's defenses. But well, I really just went with personal preference now. It's really just for the looks and because I love it and because it was a gift, and yeah, I won't change that one. But yeah, if you just go for having the best possible, then you would most likely really want to go with a Sellsword or a Coin Artist or Harper Bard companion or anything among those lines. Maybe also Rust Monster. There are many possibilities for great companions. So talking about mounts, I still got my 4K recovery equipped. Of course, armor penetration or power or movement, lifesteal, whatever. There are also great things among those, but I really just prefer the recovery because after all, I'm a cleric who also wants to have pretty decent cooldown time, and I also want to be able to regenerate action points in a moderate amount of time, and not that it's taking like 5 minutes or so to get back to 100%. That's really just I don't want that. So, as I had been asked this before, right now I'm not using any armor reinforcement kits or anything along those lines because they are just extremely expensive to me, and I don't really see why I should equip them. I know that many share a different mindset on that, but that's really just how I think right now. So if I were to equip some, I would most likely really go for reinforcement kits with action point gain, something like that. So yeah, if you're going to equip some and you want to take my build for it, that's what I would do. Then we got the wrong interface. Yeah, for the main hand I got the Blessing of Battle as a class feature. This also personal preference. If you go for Astral Seal for the bonus healing or for Blessing of the Battle, it's pretty much really do as you like. And for the offhand, I went with Companion Influence and with Holy Favor for the bonus damage of 5% for 5 seconds after dealing a critical strike. So as I'm dealing critical strikes quite often, I managed to keep this up most of the time. And of course, for a DO I would go for Terrifying Insight, but I will talk about that in a minute. So yeah, another thing that I changed for now are the enchantments I got on my companion, because before that I had like those zero enchantments equipped in all the offense slots of my companion as well to gain the extra crit of that. I played around a bit and tried to figure out if there's like a sweet spot, a golden line where you could somehow get away with a bit less crit, but therefore with a bit more power and dealing more damage that way, even when you are focused on crit. So I'm experimenting with that, and right now I'm running just with Black Eyes enchantments there for power, crit, and recovery, and in the defense slots for defense, deflection, lifesteal once more for the reason because I got this mount power. And yes. Okay, so now that we are at it, mount powers. Gladiator's Guile is pretty decent for not being like the slowest potato there, and trying to keep up with the party, and the whole party is by the end of the dungeon and you are still in the beginning. So that's really just for moving faster. If you can live with being a bit slower, then you can really skip that. Assassin's Covenant is really nice because you gain quite a lot of power through that, especially when you got some decent defense. Artifacts Persuasion is really nice for the gain in recovery, movement, action points, and stamina. As they are increased by 10% of the power for 50 seconds. And as I said, in combat my power can come up to a bit over 100k, so that is quite a bit that you get as a bonus there for that time. Calaveras Warning is just as nice. I think there's not much to explain about that, and Protector's Camaraderie. I think it's the most basic thing there is, but it's great. And when it comes to the Insignias I got started, I went for the dominance ones for power and companion influence most of the time, but I also I also got those slotted with critical strike and armor penetration and all those ones, so I'm looking to mostly switch to the dominance ones as far as I can. But yeah. So that would be about it when it comes to my AC cleric. And I think, I don't know, do I have to explain loadouts? So really when I'm running on my own, I run with a setup of Chains of Blazing Light and Daunting Light and Divine Glow. When I'm in a dungeon, I switch the chains for Forge Master's Flame or Break the Spirit or Bastion of Health, depending on the group I'm running with and depending on the dungeon and depending on how much healing all the people I'm running with are needing. So I think you know by now that playing a cleric is not about having one strict loadout of powers and just running everything with it. It's impossible. You will have to change a lot and you will have to swap a lot of powers in and out of your power trails. So yeah, I don't know, I think it's pretty hard to explain why and to explain how to exactly play a cleric. So I got Divine Fortune slotted and Holy Favor. Divine Fortune just for the extra divine power and for the extra action points. I could also swap them out for other ones. Like I could swap out Divine Fortune if I would want to. I really enjoy the extra divine power I get from Divine Fortune. So now talking about my DO build. Let me get to the campfire really fast to change my loadout. Okay, so getting back now to the DO build I still got. So of course I didn't trash that one because it's still fairly decent, and you see already that one is quite a bit different, but that might also change again. I didn't really work on this build for some time now because I had been running as an AC cleric again for the past weeks or months already. So you see my artifacts had changed the same, all my gear also stayed the same. As I said before, for the main hand I would switch this one for Brand of the Sun or Astral Seal now because Blessing of the Battle makes absolutely no sense for obvious reasons. And same for the offhand, that I would change Holy Favor to Terrifying Insight because I don't use Holy Favor anymore on my DO build, but I will talk about that in a minute. And if you are to use Holy Favor in a DO build, then that would also be a decent choice and you wouldn't have to swap anything or whatever. So yeah, let's get to it. So as you've seen before, on my DO I did the exact opposite as I did on the Anointed Champion Cleric build, and I put all of my points into Strength and Wisdom. I must say I would most likely really just change that again and respec my HR and put all those points down here, and yeah, I could do that right now, but no. So I won't go through all of my enchants again because those really didn't change and those really stayed the same. The biggest thing that changed is really just that I switched from Anointed Champion to Divine Oracle here, and there is really not much that changed about that besides that. All the powers stayed the same, of course, because I got them all to rank 4. Silly me. Now here we get to an interesting part. So I think here, I think for the Anointed Champion build I had 2 in Cleans and 3 in a Bountiful Fortune, but that's really up to you. If you want 10% or 20%, really, doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think it's getting a bit interesting because I put my points into Faithful here now, because as a DO I now decided to run with Foresight for the benefit of handing out a damage resistance buff and being able to increase that bonus through my talent points. As you see, the righteous thing just stayed the same once more. And this change right here, that I spent 10 points into Faithful and not like 5 points into Flurry's Intervention and 5 points into Lasting Wishes. It's personal preference. So if you really don't like to run with Foresight, then I would do that one. but I would also consider to run with Healer's Lore in the beginning, but that's really depending on your gear score and on the people you are running with, etc. All that stuff. So I must say I don't really know if anything changed about the boons right here, so if I got different boons on my DO Cleric, so I would just skip through them now, and if you want to you can compare, but I think they are really pretty much the same. If there's anything different here now, it's really because this is a bit older version of my build, and I didn't play it since quite some time. And yeah, also fun fact, you might see that in the end for the capstones, which have like 3 possibilities to strengthen it, that I always only got the first one because I am strictly too lazy to go through the torture of grinding all the shit to get it to maximum. Maybe I should, but I don't want to. That's as simple as this. Yeah, the companions are here also the same, the changes here are also the same, and everything in the stable is also the same. So really the biggest thing that changed is that I'm now a Divine Oracle. Yay! So, and I can't stress this enough, I swapped to this cleric build when I was at 30k gear score, something along those lines. So I don't know how this build would behave when being played on a cleric that is leveling up, or that is at like 8k or 10k gear score. I don't know how this build would behave, and I would call it an endgame build in a way, because you could terribly fail with it, because you need certain stats for it to work. You need a good critical chance. I mean, of course, right now mine is also just at about 60%, but it gets up to 80 to 90%, at times 95%, depending on where I am and who I am with, and all that stuff. So, as I said before, this is a critical cleric build, and I heal also through critically striking my targets, critical healing, all that stuff. So, yeah. And as I also said before, I am not primarily a buff cleric. I'm also damage cleric, and I'm also looking for personal damage. So my character is not made for providing the best buff possible. My goal is to really have decent possibilities to buff, and to also share a lot of power with all my allies, all that stuff, but I'm not living for buffing, because I personally couldn't do that, because it would legit be boring to me and I wouldn't really have fun with playing the cleric. So I play it the way I like it, and I play it in the way that I have fun with it. That's also why I now chose this lovely companion over my Sellsword or my Harperbard companion, really just because I want to play the game the way I like it, and I want to have fun, and I don't want to be like optimized for everything, because it's boring in a way. So yeah, I think that's it for now, and I hope something of this had been somewhat informational for you, and yeah, I hope you will have a nice day, or a nice evening, or whatsoever, and yeah, have a nice time in Neverwinter.